Not every silent man is empty. Some carry universes too loud for the world to hear. Ascenders, there's a language many never hear, but you've always felt it. A vibration beneath the surface, not loud, but undeniable. A frequency that doesn't crave spotlight, but resists falsehood with its very essence. You may have spent years feeling alien, not broken, just misread. But what if the world's lens was simply too narrow to capture your depth? You see, there exists a rare blueprint, a convergence of two powerful states of being, neurodivergence and the Sigma male archetype. When these overlap, something extraordinary occurs. Not just a personality type, a psychological force of nature, independent by structure, sensitive by wiring, fiercely logical, yet intuitively wild. You were never built to follow, you were designed to architect, but for years you may have questioned your timing, your rhythm, your resistance to the crowd. Today is about clarity, about recognizing not what makes you different, but what makes you necessary. We're going to explore 7 uncommon, often hidden traits that mark the neurodivergent Sigma male. Traits not discussed in textbooks, but felt in the marrow of the misunderstood. You may not resonate with them all, but if even 2 ignite something within, then listen closely. You're not out of sync, you're in your own orbit. And if something in this awakens you, subscribe to Sigma Ascends. This isn't just a channel, it's a stronghold for the quietly powerful, for the thinkers, the builders, the code carriers. Your ascent begins here, quietly, but definitively. 1. The unmapped intensity. This isn't your average sensitive guy trait. You don't just feel emotions, you inhabit them. But unlike the emotionally expressive or the overtly reactive, your feelings don't spill, they compress. They condense into thunderclouds that rumble behind your calm expression. In public, your face may remain unreadable, but internally, you're absorbing dozens of emotional cues. The micro-twitch in someone's eye, the shift in tone, the subtle energy drop in a room. You're not overwhelmed, you're downloading. This isn't sensitivity. It's emotional data analysis on a subconscious level. You feel the pain of others, but instead of crying with them, you retreat to process it. You don't mirror emotions, you decode them. And because of this, people often misunderstand your silence as indifference. They don't realize you're carrying more than anyone in the room. You've likely struggled with this intensity. As a child, you might have felt too much and didn't know where to put it, so you turned inward, built inner architecture to contain the storm. You became your own emotional firewall. You might find it hard to sleep, not because of anxiety, but because your brain is still processing emotional inputs from the day. Your nervous system doesn't shut off easily. It's attuned to everything. This kind of emotional intelligence can't be taught. It's the mark of someone whose nervous system is wired not for noise, but for meaning. You're not cold. You're calculating emotional algorithms in real time. And that intensity, when channeled, becomes your quiet superpower. 2. The unspoken syntax. For you, language isn't made of words, it's made of structures. You don't just listen to what people say, you map the system behind how they say it. Your mind doesn't think in lines, it thinks in webs, connections, relational blueprints. That's why casual conversation often drains you. Not because you're shy, but because it's inefficient. Small talk, to you, is like trying to solve calculus with crayons. You don't dislike people, you just dislike shallow frequencies. When someone talks, you're hearing subtext, motives, inconsistencies, and emotional charge, all at once. While they think they're making light conversation, you're dissecting the architecture of their psyche. You're not rude, you're focused. You process too much to waste your bandwidth on fluff, and this makes you a mystery to most. In relationships, you don't fall in love with looks or status. You fall in love with someone's mental code. You want to understand how they think, how they filter reality, what beliefs shape their decisions. You're turned on by systems, not seductions. At work or in creative fields, this trait becomes invaluable. You spot inconsistencies in logic, flaws in operations, misalignments others miss. You're the person who redesigns systems because you see their underlying inefficiency. But here's the kicker. You often find it hard to express yourself verbally, not because you lack words, but because your ideas arrive fully formed, complex, abstract, like multidimensional blueprints. Trying to put that into a sentence feels like translating music into math. Still, when you speak, people listen, because every word carries intention, and in a noisy world, precision is magnetic. 3. The private monastery. Your solitude is not a reaction, it's a sanctuary. While others need socialization to feel human, you need distance to remain whole. You don't just enjoy being alone. Your inner world is so vivid, so rich, that it often outshines the external one. You're not escaping people, you're returning to yourself. Your space, whether it's a room, a late-night walk, or a quiet coffee corner, becomes sacred. You don't need stimulation to feel alive. You need silence to hear your own frequency. Inside solitude, you process, rewire, envision. It's where your ideas sharpen, your intuition speaks louder, and your nervous system recalibrates. You've likely been called distant, aloof, or withdrawn, but the truth is, you're simply regenerating. What others call alone time, you call returning to the source. In this monastery of the self, you question everything. Who am I without the noise? What drives me? What illusions must I release? You may go days without speaking much, not from depression, but from introspective saturation. You don't fear missing out. You fear losing alignment. This solitude makes you dangerous in the best way. You're unconditioned, unaffected by trends, peer validation, or social expectations. That makes you harder to manipulate, but easier to respect. Once people realize your detachment isn't arrogance, it's clarity. Monks don't live in caves because they hate the world. They do it to hear it more clearly. And you, Ascender, are that modern monk, sharpening your signal, protecting your peace, and honoring the art of being unseen. 4. The chaos filter. Where others break, you calculate. When crisis hits, something ancient switches on inside you. Not panic, not emotion, but strategy. Your brain doesn't freeze, it begins assembling. You scan for patterns, for leverage points, for meaning inside mess. It's not that you enjoy chaos, you just don't fear it. Your wiring is forged in complexity. You thrive in moments where others lose their footing, not because you're invincible, but because you've trained yourself to pause instead of react. In fast-paced environments, this trait becomes visible. Others rush, you wait, others escalate, you analyze. You're not slow, you're deliberate. Many neurodivergent sigmas carry this instinct, a reflexive sorting mechanism that activates when pressure rises. You don't need detailed instructions, you read between lines. You often anticipate breakdowns before they occur, and when they do, you're already in solution mode. People may label you cold or unbothered, but they don't see the mental triage happening beneath your calm exterior. You're tracking variables, assessing timelines, measuring outcomes. You are not ignoring the chaos, you are transmuting it. This makes you a stabilizer in group settings, the one others turn to when things fall apart. You don't just survive pressure, you systematize it. You become the backbone of the situation. The chaos filter isn't about numbness, it's about neurodesign. You are the one building architecture while others still scream fire. In crisis, your calm becomes a map. Not because you're fearless, but because you're internally structured to find symmetry inside collapse. 5. The shielded inner ethic. You don't need rules to do what's right. Your integrity doesn't depend on consequence, it's built into your DNA. While others look outward for approval or instruction, you look inward for resonance. This moral compass isn't loud, but it's unshakable. You've probably felt like a misfit in rigid institutions, schools, corporations, religious systems, not because you're rebellious, but because their rules often felt disconnected from truth. You've always had your own justice system, nuanced, deeply intuitive, and non-negotiable. You're not a conformist, but you're not reckless either. You operate by alignment. If something doesn't sit right in your body, you won't do it, even if it's popular, even if it's profitable. That's why surface-level morality doesn't move you. Virtue signaling, performative ethics, public apologies, they all ring hollow unless they're rooted in real conviction. You may have walked away from opportunities because they compromised your values. You may have lost relationships by choosing honesty over comfort. But you've never regretted those decisions because your sense of self isn't built on external reward. This shielded ethic is what makes you trustworthy, not because you promise loyalty, but because you live it. Your word means something because it's anchored in inner law, not outer fear. And here's the paradox. People may misunderstand your silence as passivity, but they don't know that behind every choice you make, there's a code, and once you break your own code, you cease to exist. You don't follow the crowd, you follow the current within. 6. The alien clock. You move to a rhythm no one else hears. While the world runs on deadlines, schedules, and alarm clocks, your drive emerges from something far more esoteric: alignment. You don't act because it's time. You act when the moment becomes undeniable. Others label it procrastination, but they miss the truth. Your stillness isn't avoidance, it's attunement. You've likely had long stretches of stillness, where you appeared stagnant, unmotivated, wasting time. And then, out of nowhere, you produce something masterful in a burst of focused obsession. This isn't laziness, it's pattern recognition. You wait until your mind, body, and inner signal all align, then you strike with unmatched force. Sigma neurodivergents often move through non-linear timelines. They do in one weekend what others take months to build, not because they're faster, but because they've been processing in silence, incubating, dreaming in diagrams, rehearsing outcomes in mental blueprints. You're not late, you're lunar. Your life unfolds in cycles, not checklists. This trait makes you appear unreliable to those who worship routine, but those who understand your flow begin to trust something deeper. When it matters, you show up fully. When it's real, you engage entirely. You don't move because you should. You move when something ignites in your nervous system. And until that fire lights, you conserve your power. This makes your actions rare but meaningful. Your words few but potent. The alien clock isn't about resisting time, it's about honoring divine sequence. You weren't born to be punctual. You were born to arrive exactly when the energy is right. 7. The mind labyrinth. Your thoughts don't walk in straight lines and they spiral. Every question leads to a deeper layer. Every answer opens 3 new doors. For you, thinking is not a task. It's an ecosystem. You don't just understand topics, you dismantle them, rebuild them, and reconstruct their meaning in your own language. And while others grasp the surface, you live inside the blueprint. This depth makes you slow to respond in conversation, not because you're unsure, but because you're navigating complexity. People may interpret your pause as hesitation, but in truth, your brain is rearranging dimensions. You've likely been frustrated in classrooms, meetings, or group discussions, because while others accept things at face value, you keep asking, but what's underneath that? You're not challenging authority. You're challenging assumptions. This trait also explains your obsession with hyperfocus. When a topic catches your interest, you go deep. Hours disappear, meals are forgotten, and your body becomes secondary to the mind's mission. You are not distracted. You are in cognitive flow. Your inner world is not quiet. It's vast, recursive, philosophical, and often untranslatable. You speak in analogies, metaphors, or long layered sentences, not to sound complex, but because your thoughts require space. This labyrinth is your gift and your burden. You may feel isolated in your mind, misunderstood by those who only skim the surface. But know this, your depth is a language. Not everyone speaks it. But those who do, they recognize your soul instantly. You were not designed for simplicity. You were designed to walk the mazes that others fear to enter. Ascenders, if even a few of these traits echoed within you, you are not lost. You are layered. You are not behind. You are building inward. The world may never fully understand your architecture, but that was never the point. You were not created to be understood. You were born to be felt, profoundly and in silence. The neurodivergent Sigma is not a trend. It is an ancient design, a soul coded with logic and emotion, solitude and fire, stillness and power. You are not here to follow roads. You are here to draw maps no one knew were missing. Honor your silence, protect your mind, build from intuition, not imitation, and let the world misread your pause while you prepare your storm. Ascenders, if this message found its way to your marrow, if it stirred something ancient in you, then you already know what's next. Subscribe to Sigma Ascends. Not to follow, but to remember, to connect with the tribe of silent architects, of soul drifters, of sovereign minds who walk alone, but rise together. Your path was never meant to be crowded. It was meant to be real. And now it begins.